Thrilled to have back here on the show Basketball Hall of Famer and Hall of Fame individual and a part owner of the Atlanta Hawks as well. He's got a good piece of a major franchise in the association, which helped him get into the Hall of Fame, along with his incredible career at Duke. And I love his broadcasting along with Nance and the great Bill Raftery on the Turner family of networks and CBS for college basketball, Game, and Autobiography, where all books are sold. Grant Hill back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Grant?
Hey, Rich, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Thanks for those kind words, too, in your intro.
These are all facts. I would have given them, just so you could ask me to give you a testimonial on the back of your book. But you went up the flow chart, to be very honest with you. The people that you got here on the back, Magic, Coach K, Adam Silver. I get it, Grant. I totally get it,
Hey, Rich, I'll tell you, my next book, More Game, I'll get a blurb from you.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Because can you get it from a Michigan guy, Grant? Is that possible? Is that a possibility?
I mean, we can all coexist. I think so.
Okay. Well, because you don't have a problem with Michigan as much as Michigan has a problem with Duke, right, Grant?
No. Look, Michigan, and they talk about it in the book. Michigan's one of the 5 schools that were on my list. I was a big Sean Higgins fan, and actually made a visit to University of Michigan the weekend after they won the Final Four.
So you met with Steve Fisher? Is that who was on? Or in your initial contact might have been with Bill Frieder, pretty much back in that day.
Yeah, it wasn't. There was another gentleman who was recruiting me, but they won.
Was it the guy with? Was it the guy with the cake box, Grant?
No. There you
okay.
go.
All right.
But I went up there the weekend after, and I was a junior in high school.
Yes.
And when I made my visit to Duke later that year, I guess right at the beginning of my senior year, the following weekend I was supposed to go up to Michigan, and that was the weekend that Michigan played Notre Dame, and Rocket Ismail had a coming out party, and so. My dad, wanted me to wait one more week before I made a decision so he could go and be on the sidelines with Bo at the Michigan game. And I think I broke his heart by saying, no, I'm ready to commit to Duke right now.
Oh, man. So who was on the 50-yard line in the press box covering that game is his first day on the Michigan football beat for the school newspaper, the Michigan Daily. That would be me on that day, Grant.
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir. We're both old is basically what I'm saying, Grant.
That is true.
But
that is true.
But you are aging much more gracefully than I am. Congrats on this book. Why do it, Grant? What led you to putting it all between 2 covers for you?
Great question, Rich.
Thank you.
For me, it started really with the Hall of Fame enshrinement back in 2018. The lead up to that moment, you're naturally going to be reflective, and you're going to look back, look in the rearview mirror, and sort of just take in the totality of your career. And so, I think that ultimately led to, kind of right before COVID, this idea, okay, let's go forward with this and let's do it. And so that's what sort of lit the spark, if you will. And, it was a really interesting, really exciting exercise of going through and kind of going back, looking at your life, looking at it from a different lens, trying to live in certain moments and recall certain things. Certainly was quite the process.
Okay, Grant Hill, Basketball Hall of Famer, his book Game and Autobiography here on the Rich Eisen Show. So was getting a piece of an NBA team always the goal when you were going through your playing career? Because we're already hearing LeBron talk about maybe getting a team in Vegas once it's all said and done, and he certainly is building the capital for such a thing right now, to say the least. Was that always a goal for you while you were playing, Grant?
Yeah, my dad tried unsuccessfully back in the mid-'80s. He was with a group to try to buy the Patriots, went through it with the Washington Bullets, then now the Wizards. And then in the late '90s, when the Browns moved to Baltimore and became the Baltimore Ravens, the NFL awarded a franchise, and so he had a group that he was a part of that tried to win that, and of course they lost out. So I say all that to say that the idea of ownership, was at least the idea was planted, the seed was planted when I was in college, and just the possibility. And so when I got to Detroit, I signed a big contract, and I looked at Mr. Davidson, who was a great man, was the owner of the Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, this man pays me this contract, and so he and I became friends and really just learned a lot from him, picked his brain, tried to understand why he was successful, and had a really, really good friendship with him. But, even then I was thinking, okay, one day I'd like to own a team. And, thankfully the opportunity presented itself 2 years after I retired. I retired in 2013, and then, the Hawks came up for sale, and I talk about in the book sort of the process and engaging with Tony Ressler and what that was like. And even going back to the Clippers, I was a part of, Tony and I, along with another gentleman, tried unsuccessfully to buy the Clippers in 2014. So, get a little bit into that and what that process was like and how crazy and wild and exciting it all was.
And I played a soundbite from Trae Young the other day, Grant, about his response to hearing the F word from Knicks fans during the playoffs and how he likes to shut them up. And I assume you heard what Klay Thompson had to say about the Celtics fans when it was brought up to him. It's not like he had an agenda when he got out there for his post-game press conference after Game 3. And what you were like on the road and hearing it from the crowd, Grant, your 2 cents on that subject that's out there in the NBA Finals conversation right now.
Well, there's a code of conduct that is expected and required. And, look, when I played in the 90s, crowd said whatever, and players said things to the crowd, and I'm part to blame. At times, I said some things that I'm not very proud of. But, I think now with technology and cell phones and, everybody's being watched, we expect and demand that the players, not react and respond a certain way and are fined and penalized if and when they do. Look, I think you can boo. I think you can, all of that. But when you start, going over the board, I think that's, we should, hold ourselves as fans to the same standard that we demand from players. And so, but, at the end of the day, it's hard to penalize and hold an entire building accountable. But, look, it is what it is. And, I think, the bottom line is the fans don't win the games. It's the players and what they do on the court. And if players are too busy and too worried about that, then, the fans have won.
Yeah.
And, so you got to tune it out and go out and focus and concentrate on trying to get the job done.
What are your thoughts prior to Game 4, what you've seen through the first games of these NBA Finals and how you think it's going to play out, Grant Hill?
Rich, it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I think Golden State has shown that they can bounce back. They have the institutional knowledge. I mean, they lost in the second round to Memphis after losing. They were on the road. They lost by 50 points and still came back and not only won the next game, I think won the series. So, Klay played well. He shot well. Steph's been really good. They have to get off to a better start. At times, Boston has struggled at home throughout the playoffs. But Boston has looked really good, particularly at home in Game 3. I don't know who wins, but I will say this. Whoever wins Game 4 is going to win the series.
Really? So you're laying that much on the line on Friday night?
Yeah, I think if Golden State wins, they tie it up. I think they go back and, they win Game 5 and they're in pole position. And I think, conversely, if Boston wins up 3-1, they've done well on the road throughout the playoffs. They've closed out, some games on the road, or at least had some must-win games on the road in these playoffs. And so I think they'll have, 3 games to win 1. And so I think this is a big game. I think whoever wins Game 4, kind of bold to put it out there, but I think whoever wins Game 4 wins the series.
Grant Hill, Basketball Hall of Famer, his book, Game, an Autobiography. We'll talk a little bit more about that before we send him on his Friday right here on the Rich Eisen Show. What do you think's going through LeBron's mind right now with the roster currently the way it is? Darvin Ham, former Piston, and now his new head coach, and LeBron turning 38 this December. What do you think's going through the GOAT's mind right now, Grant Hill?
Well, I think for him, obviously, it's difficult to sit at home and not play. And, he hasn't, been in that situation maybe only 2 other times, I think, throughout his career where he's not in the postseason. I think his first year, and then I think back in, I think it was 2019, the Lakers didn't make the playoffs. I'm mindful that the last time it happened, they went and won the championship. And so I think, first of all, just getting that rest and letting his body heal up, and, particularly as he's getting older, I think that'll really charge him up, and he'll be ready to go and tackle this season. I think overall health is going to be important. We haven't seen the best of Anthony Davis really since the bubble. And I didn't think he was great the year before last, and obviously limped into the postseason. And then this last season, he wasn't right at all. So the extra rest, should really help in his preparation. And then, I anticipate them making a few roster changes, maybe some other shooters they can, have around those guys to complement them. But I like Darvin Ham. He was an assistant coach with the Hawks, so we had him in Atlanta with Coach Bud. He's smart, he's credible, he's no nonsense, and I think guys respect him because he played. And so I'm excited to see. I know LeBron is right now, super motivated, and this is the end is near, and so this could be his last opportunity to really go for it and contend and attempt to try to get that 5th ring. So it should be an exciting season. I know LeBron is doing everything possible to get himself prepared for him, hopefully a title run.
All right, Grant Hill, I'm looking through the index of your new autobiography, Game, okay? And it's time for story time. And I'm just seeing some of the names here. One of them is Staubach, Roger. Your dad, Calvin, played for the Cowboys. And it is true, Staubach was the one who suggested to your dad to name you Grant, right? If I'm not mistaken. He has taken credit for that. That is a true story. Right? It is. Okay. It is. All right.
I was baby boy Hill for 3 days. Clearly, my parents were expecting a girl. And needless to say, I was not a girl. So, my dad, yes. I think he just the excitement of everything. And, my dad takes a minute to make a decision. And so, but Staubach suggested Grant, which is my paternal grandmother's maiden name. And it sounds better than Baby Boy Hill. Although in this day and age, I might have been able to market Baby Boy Hill.
Yes. You could have had a different career, no question about that. So, what's your first football memory, Grant? What do you got?
I remember. My dad left the Cowboys and went to the World Football League back in the 70s, and so I was probably around 3. Of course, the league folded because they were paying players too much. But I remember being in the arena, or excuse me, in the stadium and watching the games and watching really everything but the game. I might have been 2 or 3 years old. But when I really started to kind of take it all in was when he went to the Redskins after leaving Hawaii, and 4 or 5 years of age. That was when, going to the practice facility and, Joe Theismann and Charlie Taylor and guys like that. And, so I was, kind of growing up in the locker room, was always around those guys and, go in the locker room, after games and just taking in the spectacle of the NFL back at that time. And so I don't remember the Dallas years, but certainly a little bit of Hawaii and a lot in Washington. And then, of course, Cleveland, where he finished his career off.
Oh, love it. Another name, Jordan, Michael. What's your favorite story involving him, Grant?
Jordan, Michael.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm reading from the index. I read from left to right.
Yeah, no, I'm trying. I've had a lot of interactions, obviously, even before I got to the NBA. I think really my first, time really meeting Michael Jordan was when he was playing on the Dream Team, and I was on the college select team. And the first day we played, I was matched up against him. And, he was calling me Dookie. And I'm trying to deny him the ball. And he's like, man, I can get the ball whenever I want. And so that was a memorable experience. And we beat him. And we the college players beat the Olympic team in the first day of scrimmages. Now, they came back and beat us the next 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't get the ball over half court. But to be around Michael, to hang out with him, he was really nice and generous to all of us. And it was just a memorable experience and a lot of fun.
He didn't happen to reach out to you after a certain Cameron Indoor regular season finale and Final Four game that you might have called, Grant. Did he reach out to you in any way?
No, he didn't reach out, but I saw him in Cleveland at the NBA 75 ceremony.
Yes.
And as they were coming off and in the back in the hallway, he came up to me, and Duke, we had just beat them in Carolina and blew them out. And we blew them out maybe a week before.
Yes.
So I was talking all types of trash.
You were.
And I was in his face, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm giving it to him." And he's like, "Man, you weren't talking trash when we were good." I said, "Yes, I was. I was talking trash because when you guys were good, we were good too." And so we were going back and forth in the hallway, and so that rivalry, although there's an incredible respect, a mutual respect. We definitely like to talk trash.
Well, some friendly advice. I would try to avoid Michael in the coming days, if not months, if not years, after the last several games between the two of your schools, Grant. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I'd avoid him.
That was tough. That was the home game was one thing, the last home game for Coach K, but the Final Four, like that was to lose to them like that. I don't think I'll ever be able to live that down.
And you were at the mic. Your professionalism was fantastic, Grant. Big time.
Yeah, I was faking it. Yes, I was definitely doing that.
Big time.
Look, I've known Hubert.
I'm
before
sure.
Either one of us were in college, and I was happy. I was happy for him. And look, I'll say this: in all seriousness, college basketball is at its best, in my opinion, when Duke and North Carolina are really good.
Oh yeah.
And when you replace a legend like Roy Williams, there's always concern. But Hubert having the season he had, getting to the final championship game, almost coming close to winning it, Carolina is going to be relevant for quite some time. And now we're trying to do the same as Coach K leaves and John Shire's coming in. And but I'm hopeful that'll happen, and I love the rivalry, and I love it more when we beat them, which I intend to do next year.
Well, I guess one last one for you in the remaining time I have with you, Grant Hill, from your index. Raftery, Bill. Give me your best one, man. Give me your best Raf story, please. You got one? You must.
Well, I mean, most of the stories are around, last call or at the bar or something along those lines. I mean, I love it. I can't believe that, one, that he can, hang out and partake like he does. But the next day, he is like, he gets up and the next day he's full of energy. And I'm dragging. And, I'm half his age or almost half his age. And, we're getting up and we're going to practice at 8 a.m. And he's just buzzing around like he had 12 hours of sleep. And it's just like and literally, he just goes and goes and goes. And you drink with him, and you're like, you're sitting there, you're like, my glass was it was almost empty, but now it's full. And so you take a few sips and you drink, and then it's full again. And you're thinking to yourself, have I drank that much where I can't determine? But he's constantly, he's constantly reloading, and he's doing it so slick and so sly. But he's so much fun. and I just have to rest up for 11 months to get ready for March.
Well, he and Nance are terrific. You guys are all great together. All right, I got one last one for you. Patrick, Dan. When I got to SportsCenter, one of the best SportsCenter commercials that had already been on the air was you in the lobby. And when I first walked into the lobby of ESPN as a young 26-year-old kid, I'm like, this is the place where Grant Hill played the piano. And what's the backstory behind this one, Grant? You got one?
It's an interesting backstory.
Please.
So I just finished my first year in the NBA, and I remember my agents were saying, look, ESPN wants you to go to Bristol to tape this commercial. And you got to understand, I was a part of the very first batch of ESPN commercials.
Yeah, I remember.
Which, are legendary. And you've been in them, and obviously everyone's aware of them. And, it's like when they were asked, it was like, commercial? It didn't make any sense. They're like, yeah, ESPN wants to do a commercial. I'm like, nowadays any athlete or any individual that's asked to do it, you know what it is, and you're on it, because they're good, they're creative, they're funny, and they'll be splattered all over the network for quite some time. So I almost turned it down. Like I said, it's commercial. It just didn't make any sense. And so literally, I was there. I think it was Dan Patrick and Craig Kilborn. I think Kilborn was in it. And I might have been it might have been 5 minutes that we recorded that. I came in, I had my jersey on, we sat down, and I didn't even play anything. They just acted like I played.
Right.
And we did it. We taped it maybe 2 times, and that was it. And I was back to Hartford and flew out. I mean, literally, it was like I might have been on campus for all of 15 minutes.
No kidding, because it's just great because, Dan was down, bad show, and then you played Charge, dun, 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 and you just kind of got, a little bit more peppy and then put some money in your jar. Brilliant. Just so funny. And they added that later.
Funny. Classic.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm going to tweet that out. I just found it.
Please go ahead.
So
it's brilliant. Hey, Grant, thanks for the time. Congrats on the book. Let's do it again. And certainly since, I'd like an index mention the next time you have a book. So let's create some memories, the two of us, over the next several years.
Let's do it.
Thanks.
I'm all for it.
Look for my call, Grant. Thanks again. Congrats on the book, and you be well.
All right, you too. Thank you.
You got it. Anytime. Grant Hill, Game, and Autobiography, where all books are sold.